And we're recording. So my guest today is Ty Reed. Ty Reed is a Marine Corps veteran, served in infantry, particularly during uh, his deployment to Iraq. And now he teaches gun classes and he shoots matches. Ty, thanks a bunch for coming on today.
Because I really appreciate you bringing me on. I mean, we always get to have wonderful conversations in general. Like I said, it, 3 4 hours sometimes even going by and doesn't feel like it's happened. Um, like we were just talking earlier, I do appreciate you, especially with all the different type of people that you bring on the show in general. I feel very honored that you would actually consider including me in on that. I do appreciate that a lot. You know, this whole experience as far as the firearms community goes for me has been a blessing. I mean, hands down, it's actually a life saving thing for me, is what it really is. You know, a little bit about myself and everything too. After the Marine Corps, I got out. I didn't touch firearms for a long time. It's probably about 10 years or so. I didn't touch firearms, didn't care to, and we all deal with our own inner demons and stuff in life. Um, we hear the term PTSD and stuff, it gets thrown around quite a bit. Um, but we all have some sort. Doesn't matter. You don't have to be in combat or anything to have it. But it's that in itself, like I said, that you start spiraling down the rabbit hole. And luckily for me, moving here to Memphis, um, I was really blessed. I found a really good group of people that brought me under their wing and um, you know, treated me like one of their own, and like they're my family now. And I go and do things with them outside of shooting as well. But for me, it saved me from myself. Just to be real honest with you, like you get into these deep depressions, and you don't feel like you have an outlet or any people to talk to or you can relate to. And it was a blessing that I found people like you and Will and Ronnie and other folks as well that are in our instructor group over at Top Gun. And um, I really truly firmly believe that, like I said, they saved me from myself, to be truthful. um, Coming into shooting and stuff, handguns really weren't was not is not my forte. It just never had been. And I kind of got swept under some people's wings on shooting. To what really honestly drove me to want to become a good shooter, or a well-rounded shooter in general, was I was actually standing in the kitchen area, where the restaurant area, right? And I was looking out there, and you were actually out there shooting on the big side, or Gen Pop is what we call it now. We call it Gen Pop. But I was watching you shoot, and I was like, well, I'm a very competitive person in general by nature, and I was like, I want to do whatever he's doing. I got to figure this out, you know. And so I probably became like the most annoying little brother you've ever met in your life. And I would just be like, "Hey, when you going to the range? I want to go. Hey, take me with you. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?" I just started asking a bajillion questions, and for most people, that probably would turn people away, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't need to speak with you. I'm too good for you," or this or that. And like I said, to this day, I say I attribute a lot of my shooting to you. I say that you gave me drive and desire to want to do better for myself, and in return with that, what it came with was it came a good friend as well. And um, I don't have a lot of friends for a reason. Um, and the ones that I do have a very small inner circle that I I do anything for, like seriously anything for. And that's what this community has given me. Uh, I haven't ran across really anybody in the firearms community as a whole that has been just a terrible person to be around. Most people in the firearms community, or the shooting community, um, are good people, good natured people that do want to help and do want to help you improve. And that's where it leads into my next thing that I started doing. Was I started wanting to be a good instructor. My love and passion in life is teaching. I like to help people improve themselves because I want to improve myself too. And I want to see other people succeed, as well as not just my close friends or my family. I want to see other people succeed too. Um, and so I enjoyed working with them, and that's kind of where I got very lucky with being able to get the opportunity to start learning how to instruct at Top Gun, and it was learning how to instruct firearms, specifically to a certain type of people, like new shooters, is what we talked about before. It's me learning how to work with and um, advise and help newer shooters in general, right? So I got really lucky for me to be able to get to start to do that in general. We, I've been doing this we've been at Top Gun now for about 3 years now. I think is what I've been doing this with there. Um, my situation obviously a little bit different than a lot of people's up there. I have a little more free time, and so I started doing a whole lot of private lessons and helping with classes. So I got a lot of at bats to be able to hone my craft. Um, so I've been really, once again, blessed in that sense that I've been able to have the opportunities, because a lot of people don't get the opportunities, or the ones they do get, they squander, which is really sad. Um, and it's just, it's really, especially with people that want to teach and want to, give back. Um, then, when you get the opportunity, you need to just take it and take it for all it's worth, because then down the road, like I said, you never know how it's going to pan out. Like I didn't expect, and 3 years ago, I was just happy to hit the paper on a target, and then now, like I say, I'm a much better shooter, and then I seen other instructors how they teach, um, and I kind of take some of the stuff I hear what they say, which helps me make sense of it as well. Um, and I've been really, like I said, very fortunate to be exposed to good instructors and be exposed to good shooters as well around in this area alone. Um, the military was one thing, and they teach you certain skill sets and stuff. But in the world we live in now, my role in life is different than it was, gosh, almost 20 years ago now. Let's see. Yeah, 20 years ago now. It's kind of sad. I can't believe I'm that old, but and yeah, it's you kind of look back on it, you're like, wow, like the time has really elapsed and we've grown and evolved, or at least I have for sure. And in just a short 4 years, 5 years living in Memphis now, like I said, you know, a lot of my mindset, my desires, and my passions have changed. I have my super nerdy headset on for gaming because I used to play, I used to game a whole bunch, and that was kind of what was one of the things that was a driving factor for me. But then that was like a passion per se, but now it's firearms. Not only just shooting them, but helping others with them. So that's kind of where I'm at now in life.
And Ty, yeah, you're a phenomenal instructor.
Oh,
I think that
appreciate
you've been
that.
around. Yeah, I mean that. It seems like you've been around enough really, really good instructors to pick some stuff up, and then also, especially back in the military, we've all been around some really bad instructors, and
That's
who
very
have picked
true.
up what not to do. So, you know, um, one of the best AR classes that I've ever been to was taught by Ty Reed.
Oh, well,
So
thank you.
yeah,
Thanks.
and who better to learn it from, right? A that Marine Corps infantry that kicked down doors in Iraq. Like who better? What better credentials do you have? So,
Yes, sir.
like, but there's this thing though, right? Like for civilians, particularly for civilians that are, um, particularly for citizens that are really just concerned about the security of their home and their community. Why would anybody that isn't wearing a uniform? Why would they want to use an AR-15 for home defense or self defense?
There's a lot of theories on that. Why people like certain firearms and stuff to use in their home for defense. I I kind of have to drive towards the mindset that um, use what you're most proficient with, because in the bottom line of it is you need to make good hits. Because if somebody's trying to, like we talk about here in Tennessee, for sure, is that if someone's trying to rape, rob, kill, or cripple you, you can use deadly force, and you have every right to make that stop now. It's not in a day, not a few hours, not a few weeks. You have every right to make that stop now. And so if you're really proficient with a handgun, use a handgun. If you're really proficient with a rifle, use a rifle. If you're really proficient with a shotgun, go with a shotgun. Whatever you're going to do the most training with or on is probably your best bet, because if when the rubber meets the road and you need to make something stop, grab you be using what you're good with. Don't try to figure it out in the moment. I know we don't have a limited amount of time in life. We have lives, we have families, we have jobs and such. So we only have a limited amount of time to give ourselves for training. And so if your training is going to be more driven towards a rifle, then I'm probably going to be using a rifle. Or if you have more time driven towards a shotgun, then use a shotgun. You know, there's a lot of information and misinformation out there on the internet, through our friends and families, and on movies and TV as well. And so, being able to go out and seek good training, it can be sometimes a challenge in some ways, because we have to we use the word vetting the instructors and such. And sometimes it can be hard because it's kind of like, I'll give you a quick example for me, right? Um, I just started getting into the competitive shooting thing and everything, and along what came with that was getting into firearms I don't know anything about. And so, because I didn't know about them, I don't know what they're worth. I don't know if I'm getting ripped off when I buy them. I don't know if they're actually functioning correctly, because I don't know anything about them, right? So I had to go find resources that I could trust and ask a bunch of questions, ask multiple different people. So the process would be the same for me when it goes to vetting instructors, is I'm going to ask multiple people and get their opinions, because people that you trust. I wouldn't just go find some random Joe off the street and say, "Hey, what do you think of insert name?" I would go to people that are other instructors probably, and ask them, say, "Hey, what's your opinion on this person?" And if that instructor is probably doing their job correctly when they talk to him, I always return a question back to them when they ask me, "What do you think of this person?" I said, "Well, what are you trying to get out of a class? What are you trying to learn? What are you trying to improve on?" Because there's a lot of great instructors that work on specific things, right? You have some that are really good at skill sets. So I would go see certain instructor to learn specific skill sets. And then you might say, "Hey, well, I want to be doing this." So I'm going to go and find instructors X, insert whatever again, because they're really good at this one specific thing. Because yet again, we all have our own wheelhouse that we're good at, right? Because me and you've talked about that before, that you're really good with specific things, and then there's things that you don't really feel comfortable doing sometimes. And same with me. There's certain things I can teach it, but it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not going to go out and teach a shotgun class. Can I run one? Yeah. Can I make one function correctly and clear them and stuff? Yeah, but I don't know all the intricate little, minute details on things to make it worth somebody's time, in my opinion. Not yet, at least. I haven't learned enough. I'm still a student too. I still I still take lessons. I take classes from people when I can. I am a little selective when I take classes. I'll be honest with you. I value not just my time, but my money as well. And sometimes in my life, I'm specifically trying to work on, like I said, that's why I ask myself, what am I trying to get out of this? What are my goals out of this? Am I just taking it because my friends are taking it? Cool, that's fine. Am I taking it because I want to learn a specific skill set or be good at a certain thing, or be proficient with a certain firearm? Then I'll probably go find an instructor that's really good at that. Like we talked before, when people came and asked me about red dots, I can shoot a red dot, but I would refer them to Mikos. I did it all the time because that's your wheelhouse. You specifically worked on that skill set for 3 years. I mean, I can shoot one and make it. I can get you around through it and help you get to it, to that point to where you can be good with it. But if you wanted to get really good with one, or you want to get really proficient with one, especially around here, like I said, I would send you to me. I would tell them to go see Miko's. Don't have enough pride to sit there and keep somebody's learning away by saying like, "Well, no, only I can do this because it's me." No, I know where my skill sets lie. I'm honest enough with myself, and I try to be honest enough with other people that, if I can't do it, I'm not going to sit here and just BS you all the way through something. That's ridiculous, because I'm not teaching you to swing a golf club. I'm not teaching you to swing a tennis racket or throw a baseball. We're teaching people how to use things that can take other people's lives. And so we need to, be honest with ourselves. And as an instructor, from the instructor side, I need to be honest with people and be honest with myself enough to say, like, hey, look, you know what? I could probably do that, but there's someone better to do that for you. And then that gives me the drive to say, oh, well, hey, I need to figure out how to get better at this, or how get fill that void in of teaching insert whatever, um, and that's where those classes come in. Like, certain people I want to take classes with and take lessons with and such too. Um, I'm very selective on that, and it's not because I'm trying to be, you know, thinking that somebody's curriculum is not good enough. It's what I'm trying to work on at this time on me, and that way I can turn around and give it back to some of my students and some of the other some other people that shoot with me. I want to be able to give that information back to and pass it down as well. Because I'm not a fan of gatekeeping. I don't think that should be a thing. Maybe about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that was a thing. But in the day and age where we can get so much information out there, I mean, why not give out good information, give out correct information, So um, I want to go and help find that and save people some of the time. Like, um, flip back real fast on my shooting side and stuff. I think only reason why I even accelerated where I'm shooting at is because when I talk to people like you and Ronnie, y'all help me skip the BS. Like, y'all have already kind of figured out like what does not work. So there's no reason for me to do it, right? So instead of having to go through that whole process, so it wasn't like I'm a special person in shooting. I'm not. I have to work just as hard as anybody else. Most of the time I have to work harder because I'm really not just a naturally gifted person in shooting. Um, I have to work hard at it and I know that's just how I've always been. I'll just outwork people. It's my goal. It's like, um, so I got to kind of like the cheat codes, kind of like you remember Game Genies on Nintendo.
I love Game
Shut the
Genie.
Game
Yes.
Genie and be like, I don't want infinite ammo and I want infinite lives. Let's go, right? So you go and start playing Contra and you start crushing Contra, right? So I mean that's kind of what I got when I got in with the group of guys at Top Gun with me. They're my family, and they're the ones that help me skip past, like I said, the BS is what it really was. Um, and help build me and show me things, and then after that I take it and I mold it into what I know works for me. I did music in high school, and I think that was a really helpful foundation, because then when you are in, I was a band nerd. When you do band, you have to teach yourself how to learn music or learn the piece of music you're playing, right? So you learn a lot about yourself and how you learn. And so it was really helpful for me that once I get a concept like from you or somebody that says, "Hey, this is what it works on. This is the mechanics and the picture of everything." Well, I can break it down for myself to figure out how to make it to work on it. But that's kind of what you do with music. You get a thing of sheet music, and you'd be like, "All right, well, I'm gonna learn measures 1 through 8. Great, cool. Now I'm gonna learn 9 through 12. Now I'm gonna put them together. All right, cool. Now I got this part done. Same with shooting. The same thing again. I learned this skill set. Now I'm gonna learn this skill set. I'm gonna put them together. This is what it makes. It's like cooking or something. I don't cook, but I mean, my cooking skills are limited to like hot pockets and like pizza rolls and Eggos. So, and my wife knows that too, and that's what I love her about it. She's a really good cook, and I am not. So, um, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it in general. Is that like you have to adult learning is different, which that as well. Adults learn different than children. Children learn by you just tell them this is how it is, and they go okay, they accept it for what it is, and they just move on. Adult learning is completely different. They need the what to the why, and a lot of times if you can't articulate the why, they're not going to understand it. They're not going to do it, right? And on the second side of that as well, not just when they not do it, um, is that if you can't show them how to do it as well, because we are visual creatures, we learn through watching stuff and watching how things are done. Then that you can sit there and explain to you're blue in the face, but if they don't see what you're talking about, they don't really put the two and two together typically, right? So I think like demoing is very, very important in classes and lessons and stuff. Um, I think that's very valuable because they can see what you're asking them to do, and then they can put the words together with what they're seeing, and it makes things stick. Is what it does. Once
Yeah.
I started, I didn't do that at first. I'll be real honest with you. That's something I learned over talking to different instructors. Read a great book, or actually, I don't read that much. I listened to an audiobook. The Inner Game of Tennis, and I listened to it
Yeah.
about 4 times.
Yeah.
Listened to it the first time as a like with the mindset of being a student, and then I listened to it the second time as a mindset of being an instructor, like put myself in the instructor shoes and get something out of it that way. And then I just listened to it 2 more times just to see if I picked up anything else I missed, right? And one of the big things that stuck out to me was demo. You, I had to be able to do something that I'm asking somebody else to do, and that comes from the Marine Corps as well. You lead from the front, you don't lead from the rear, right? I'm not going to ever ask my guys to do something that I'm not willing to do myself or haven't done myself. That's ridiculous, right? That's bad leadership, right? So my thing is, like I said, if I can do it as well, it means I have an understanding enough of how it works, and I probably can be able to tell somebody at least, hey, do it like this because of, or this is how it works and this is why. Um, and the people that can't articulate it, there's some really great shooters that just can't articulate, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then there's some really good people that can articulate, but they just can't do anymore. And that comes with age and time. It's going to happen to me eventually. We're going to get to the point where our bodies start to fail us. So, and I understand that. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm a big firm believer that you need to be able to do what you're asking your students to do, and show it to them because we talked about this again. We have a lot of conversations anyway. So,
Yeah.
we talked about this before that, we can get 30% of our learning through, books, somebody talking to you, watching something on YouTube or watching something from an instructional video somewhere. But the 70% of our learning comes from the doing, the action there, like practical application, right? So if you think about going back into when you were in the military as well in the Marine Corps, there's a lot of practical application, right? There was formal instruction where they say do it like this, do it like that, but then they didn't just send you out to expect you to be able to do it. You did a lot of practical application or like dress rehearsals or whatever you want to call it now, practicing that specific thing, like changing this part out or using using this part for that. I mean, it was a lot of a practical application of doing so, and that's what made you become a proficient at your job, right? So the same thing works when it comes to learning how to use a firearm because these aren't things that we just came out of the womb being able to go, oh, I can shoot guns now. That's just not how it works. It's not like walking and breathing. That's not our body naturally wants to do that, right? These are artificial things that we have to learn, and the way we learn them, like I say, is just like by seeing and doing, by seeing and doing. That's how we get.
Yeah.
That's how we teach things, and that's how we learn.
So I can tell that you've had a lot of, positive influence from some really effective instructors, and you've been a lot of places too. Like you went to the Range Master Tactical Conference. You've been to California. You've helped out with a lot of classes here at Top Gun under some really high level instructors. Um, you've been to USPSA nationals. Like, can you tell me a little bit about some of the people that you've learned from?
Yeah, I can name drop. I don't mind.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know like, if people care about that or not. For me, like directly, like as far as on the instructor side, a lot of my like Akil and Tiff, um, the way that they can articulate things and the way they can make something the most boring thing in the world actually fun. That was important because when you're having a good time, one, it goes by faster, but two, you actually do learn, because you're engaged at that point. So their teaching style and just listening to them, how they just say certain things. There's one specific thing I do now with from the NRA and the NRA instructor class I took with them. There's one specific thing how I manipulate a handgun when I'm teaching a class that I got from that. And I haven't changed it ever since. I never will. It's weird. I'll show it to you sometime in person, but it's just the way that I will manipulate guns so it never anybody can ever mistake thinking that I pointed a gun at them. Like not even close. There's just no way. Or at myself or anything unsafe, right? So that's one little thing I picked up and it'll stick with me forever. Gabe White. I like I like listening to Gabe White. Um, I purposely would attack on, even though I wasn't assigned to him one year to be an RSO. I asked to kill, and I went out there. I wanted to watch it again. I took his class already, but I wanted to watch and listen to it again because I wanted to see how he delivers. I liked his delivery. He's high energy. I'm not high energy like him, but he's high energy. And I just want to see how he engages with people. That's extremely important. It's relationships is what it is. It's build rapport. Because if you can't build rapport, people they won't relate, and typically people that don't relate to each other, they don't learn from each other, right? And that's just the world we live in. We like to be around things that are similar to ourselves, and being able to build rapport gives you similarities to one another or to other people, and it makes them want to be engaging to you more, or they want to engage with you more because they're like, oh yeah, he's a lot like me because he does this, or I do a lot of different stuff. I cycle, you know um I like to play musical instruments. I play video games, so it gives me a lot of stuff I do that other people may do as well, and we can just talk about it. It doesn't mean I'm not doing Tour de France, you know. But I know I have bikes and cycle, and I enjoy it, and so I can have something to have in common with them, and that's really helpful. Especially, it's called life experiences. I think, in my opinion, just be willing to be vulnerable and share some of your life experiences, so people can relate to you. That's really important because you can have all the knowledge in the world, and if like I just don't jive with you or get a good vibe from you, I really don't care what you have to say. All in all, you know, I just don't. Tom Givens is one of the best lecturers I've ever sat in my life, just to listening to him because you can hear his passion, and that's important. And it makes you really kind of sit on the edge of your seat, like I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to listen to more. Uh, you know, Will over at Top Gun, like I said, he's an excellent lecturer as well. He has more of a quirky way of doing things, and it keeps people engaged. So you kind of like pick and grab these things from different instructors that you like, and then you look at yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and go, "Well, I'm gonna still do it my way because I'm me. I'm Ty, but I like the way that Will delivered it, or Tom delivered it, or Miko's delivered it. There's little things like that, and you start kind of it's kind of weird. It's almost like you evolve, is what it is. And I had one of the best compliments I've ever had from one of my students. So when I first started doing private lessons, it's the Hendersons. Um, Super sweet people. I love them to death. Um, they 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 came back to me about a year and a half later because their COVID hit. They didn't want to gather older people, which I understand. They didn't want to get out and be exposed, possibly. That's a no go. And they came back and said, "Well, we haven't had one in a while. I just want to do a full on, like, from the start lesson, like start over." And I said, "Great, well, I can do that for you." After we finished and everything, they said that my delivery has gotten so much better, and the way that I present it has gotten that much better. And I was like, I don't really think about it because we make small changes over X amount of time, and it means a lot to me from them because they mean a lot to me as my students and stuff, and my friends as well, that I want them to get a good experience, and I want them to learn something. That's one of the most important things to me. I don't care if they tell anybody about who I am. That's not a big deal to me. I want them to take away learning something that's going to help better them. Um, And for them to say that to me, and it was really nice, honestly. Like, it felt really good. To give you an idea, like, one of the guys, or Dean is the husband. He was a teacher for 30 years, and he gave me really nice compliments about that. And I was like, well, I mean, I really appreciate that. Um, it's just, um, teaching's teaching in general, I guess. And I felt really good about that because I have evolved. You've evolved as an instructor too, because if you probably go back to, when you started doing teaching and stuff, your knowledge pool was probably a lot more shallow than it is now. So now you have so much more knowledge to give, and we just got to now figure out, how can I deliver this to somebody that is digestible and is rememberable, so they can sit there and recall it down the road. You know, I think it's really important for that. Is, can I make it uh, digestible for them to be able to understand it and then be able to recall it down the road? You know, um, like I say, here lately, I haven't been able to do I don't do as many private lessons as I used to. I was doing like 15 to 20 a week at one point. I mean, it was like full, and then I'd help with classes at night. I mean, it was a full gambit. I mean, it was taxing a little bit. Um, but like I said, I got a lot of opportunities to see, like, Jim Darnell, John Parker, Bob Stewart's, watch how they teach, instruct, and coach, and that was invaluable. Like, a lot of times I see, and I see a lot of newer instructors, and it's okay. It's not a big deal because I know they're just chomping at the bit to want to help. But sometimes it's good to sit back and just watch and just listen. Don't say anything. Just listen, because we can observe a lot more. We can see a lot more. And then you start noticing a lot more, and in return you can deliver that back to somebody else. But if you're in the mix, it's sometimes hard to get that 3,000-foot view. You're right there in the thick of it. It's hard to see that. And I think that's something sometimes good to do, even to just sit back and watch. Like, the classes that I enjoy taking right now are beginner classes. If I'm going to take a class right now, I want to go take a class from somebody that's teaching new shooters how to shoot. Not because I don't know how to teach somebody how to shoot a gun. I want to see how somebody delivers it, because they may say something one way that I don't, but I may need it down the road for somebody else, right? It's like putting just more tools in my toolbox is all it is. To explain one thing, I should probably have 30 to 40 different ways to say it if I want to be effective, right? And then also it gives me opportunity just to see them and how they interact with them, not just what they say, but how they physically interact with people too. That's important. Because being able to read the people, like, especially when we have those small booths, right? And some people don't like you being up in their space, because us as a society, we don't like people being in our space typically.
Yeah.
And so you have to earn that respect from them, and you have to earn that okay by them to say, yeah, you can come over here and help me, type of thing. And you have to be able to read people's body language of saying, hey, I need to back off, you know, and that takes time. And it's really what it is. It's time. And it's not a set amount of time, like 3 hours, 4 hours. It's at bats is what I'm going to call it. Like, how many times at bat have you had the opportunity to sit there and watch the permit class, or the master pistol series, or beyond the permit series, or whatever, marksmanship, or whatever you're doing, right? It's at bats. You need time just perfecting your craft and honing that craft is what it really comes down to.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you really do need those reps. Um, so speaking of reps, like, you've been kind of tearing it up in the competitive scene as well. Like, you've
Oh, I
gotten
appreciate
you've gotten active
that.
into USPSA.
Yes, sir.
I think you started shooting it back in what, like April of this year
Yeah,
or last
May
year?
May May of last year is when I really started taking it serious.
May of
Mhm.
2022, and you've been really successful at it. You've been to USPSA Nationals. You went to
Yeah.
the Travelers Cup in California. Can you tell me a little bit more about, like, your journey with USPSA?
Oh man, it's been crazy. So, um, I know I'm competitive, like, by nature. Like, you can ask my wife. I don't let her win at checkers. I could care less. If you're gonna beat me, you're gonna beat me, right? So it helped kind of feed that need for me of feeding that competitive side of my personality. I started out, like I said, everybody, I didn't know anything about the sport. I mean, I go back and look at my first match video. It's kind of, but it's okay though. I mean, I'm in jeans, combat boots, and I think I was shooting a VP9L or something with a dot on it. Um, I look like a scrub, like a scrub. And but fortunately for me, our club here in Memphis is a really good club. One, we have high level shooters here. We have two people that are on super squads in two different divisions. One's in open and one is in carry optics, which people don't know what super squad is. You finish in the top 12 at nationals. Yeah, at top 12 at nationals, right? And so we have phenomenal shooters in our within our club itself alone, but everyone there is nice and helpful again too. Like nobody was, well, okay, let me take that back. All right. So once you get in the group, of course you're gonna get, it's just like a normal group. You're gonna get razzed on every once in a while, right? But as a whole, as long as you come out and you be safe, you have a good attitude, people are there to help. People want to help. Everybody there loves shooting, right? So I got lucky again finding a good group of people to shoot with. Started out in carry optics because that was, I guess, what everybody told me to try, and I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm here for that. I kind of wanted a little bit, honestly, a little bit more of a challenge. So I started trying to play production. Um, I didn't, like I said, I didn't like it the first two matches. I'm not gonna lie because I really suck at reloads, and you had to do a lot of them. So for production, you can only have 10 rounds in your magazine type of thing. So you do a lot of reloads and stuff. But it gave me something to work on, something to drive towards. And so I went to California when I went to go visit my wife before I put her on a ship because she's still active duty. And I shot the Travelers Cup down there, which is really awesome cup to go to. There was probably about a little over 110 shooters, and most of them out there. It's put on by Masonic Lodge, so that's why they call it the Travelers Cup and everything. But it was a really good event to put on, and it just kept feeding that need. I just want to keep getting better and keep getting better. And my friend Garen, I was on the fence about going to nationals. I never been to any kind of major match of anything. I've just shot locals. The Travelers Cup was my first thing I've ever shot outside of MSSA. And he was like, he just basically said, "Well, you'll never know if you don't do it." I was like, it stuck in my head for about 2 days. I was like, I won't know until I just do it. I don't know how I'll finish or how I'll do. I don't know how I'll stack up against other people, right? And so it kind of stuck in my head, and I just signed up, and I just showed up, and I worked once again. Like I said, I had to work hard at it. I did practice a lot. I did dry fire a ton, um, and then went and shot it, and had a great time. Met some wonderful people. Got to shoot some phenomenal shooters because it's kind of like that mentality you get. Especially if you stay in one area, you become like the big fish in the small pond. And so, like, you start, oh, I'm really awesome, this and that, because everybody else around me is not that great, or just you just surpass them in skills. When you get when you get out to those major matches and stuff, and these people that come out of the woodworks that you've never heard of, probably, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal seeing them build what they can do with a firearm. And then you can watch the guys that are on the super squad. They're like robots. They're like literal robots with a handgun. And you watch them go shoot. You watch them shoot too, and it's just crazy. Like I watched JJ Rakaza shoot, which, by the way, I do want to take one of his classes someday. I was watching him shoot production, and I watched some of his other guys there in the Super Squad shoot, and I was like, I don't understand how this works. Like, how did you just do that? And it's just because they're just on a different level, and that's okay because they they worked on their craft, and so they should be doing that. At that level. I got to shoot with some really amazing people. I literally, he's a kid, and it kind of pissed me off a little bit. Not because he's a mean person or anything. It's just we were just sitting there chatting the second day, and he's from the Nashville area, and I was just talking with him. I said, he goes, "Yeah, I go to school in Nashville." I was like, "Oh, cool. What are you studying?" He goes, "Oh no, I'm in high school." I said, "Excuse me." I was like, "Hi." I said, "All right, well now I don't like you anymore. I'm gonna walk away now." But but he's a phenomenal shooter. He won. I'm pretty sure he won the juniors division at nationals this year in production, and I think he was like 14th overall, something like 14 or 16, something like that. He's a phenomenal shooter. He's 16 years old, and I was like, you barely have a driver's license, and you were crushing adults that've been doing this for a while. I was just impressed. And then, but like I said, once again, the people I shot with are from all over the country. I've never met them before in my life. Um, and everyone was just nice. The firearm community or the shooting community as a whole is hands down one of the most unique things I've ever seen. When I went out the first time to California to visit my wife, because like she's stationed out there, the day after our anniversary, I made her go out to a match. We didn't shoot it. I just made her go out to the match and watch it, which she doesn't care about shooting, by the way. Uh, and I was just out there, and one of the guys out there was just like, "Hey, I got an extra belt and gun and ammo and mags. You want to shoot?" And I was like, yes and no, because if I break your stuff, I don't really know you that well, and I don't want you to be mad. But I mean, just for people to be willing to do that, they've never met me in their lives. I mean, I literally just showed up out there. I talked to the match director before on the phone, because we were looking at I was moving out there, and I needed a place to shoot. So I started kind of doing my research out there, and he's the one that told me just come out and come watch, and that's to where I ended up going and shooting Travelers Cup the next time I went out and saw her. But for people like that, just to be willing to say, here, try my stuff out, you know, shoot with my gear, shoot my ammo, you're not going to
Yeah,
find that
shoot my
anywhere else.
$4,000 handgun.
Yeah, right. That's the one that I was going, then I have to let my wife know how much some of my guns cost, and I don't want to do that. So that could be good or bad, I guess. But no, like I say, the journey I've had along the way so far, in competitive shooting is one wonderful. Once again, like some of my closest friends now are in the fire or from the competitive world and the instructing world, but shooting in general. Um, I still want to keep improving myself in that. We had this discussion about, gosh, it's almost been a year ago now, that there's only so much time and available to us in a day, and so I can either devote my time to be a really good instructor, or I can devote my time to be a really good competitor. And I chose the route of competitor right now. Not saying that I'm not passionate and love instructing. It's just I want to devote my time to this while I still physically can. Um, and I'm old, or I'm not 20. I'm not 22 years old. But yet you compete against those kids. Um, and I haven't been doing it as long as some of these guys that are my age that have been doing it since they were 20 something. So they got 15 years on me. So I, I'm behind the eight ball on that. So I had to decide I need to devote a lot of my time to this. So that dry fire regimen I do. I'm pretty much of a stickler on that, and but it drives me to want to do better and be better. Um, and I know that some people, I mean, there's two different camps always. There's the defensive shooting camp, and there's the competitive camp. They usually don't like to mingle too well, I've noticed, because one will say something about the other, saying that it's not. I don't know why you do this or that, blah 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 blah, all this stuff. To me, shooting is shooting. Whether it's at paper or I hope. I've been very blessed since I've got out of the military that I've never had to use my firearm outside of a range. But I think that it all is shooting is shooting, plain and simple. You're not gonna just match, that term "rise to the occasion" that I hear a lot of people will say, "Well, I'll just rise to the occasion." Especially, it mostly comes from the defensive shooting side. To be truthful with you, oh, if something happens or pops off, I'm gonna do this, and that. And I said, "Well, have you trained to do that?" That's where my mind goes to. It's like, we will always revert back to our most basic level of training. If it's scream and run, we're gonna scream and run. Truthfully, that's just how a game's played. Under stress and duress, you will always revert back to your most basic level of training. So if your basic level training screen run, you're going to run screen. But you can sit there and tell yourself in your head all the time, like, oh, I'm going to be like John Wick and jump over chairs and flip over backwards and start shooting his guns and reload the gun like this over here. You can tell yourself that all day long, but if you don't train to that level, you're not going to do it. Just plain and simple, right? So you you get these two different ends of the spectrum, I guess you could almost put it. But it's kind of funny. They think they're on different ends, but they're really the same pool. Shooting is just shooting, whether it's paper or unfortunately it might have to be a humanoid person. I don't know. As you say, it's just um, that's all it is. And competitive, they'll say, well, in competitive shooting, you're just shooting for a score, this and that. I say, well, I'm trying to shoot as fast as possible, making good hits before bashing the other person, right? In a defensive situation, I'm trying to shoot faster than the other person and make better hits before they can make better hits on me. It's
Yeah.
similarly pretty much the same thing. Now, the idea of tactics and stuff, I hate that word, but the idea of tactics and stuff, yeah, they're different. I get that. One's a game and one's not. One you play for keeps, you know, and the other one you're playing a game, and that's understandable. But the end results are the same. The goal in mind when you're practicing training for shooting competitively is the same as if I was sitting there practicing a specific drill or a skill set at the range on the flat range, just to do a sub-second draw or shoot two over here, then one over there. Whatever you're setting yourself up to do, or you're doing. I don't really know a lot of drills. Like I said, I don't have a stack or book or an encyclopedia of drills and stuff out there. Um, but like I say, I have ways to understand how to use skill sets or work on specific skill sets. I do have that. I just don't have a specific drill like, oh, shoot the 10-5-2 drill or something. I don't know how to make up stuff now, but shoot this special drill or shoot this drill. It'll help you with that. Um, I don't really have like I said, a stack of drills that I have people do, and especially my lessons, because they're very modular anyways, because someone may pick something up faster and I need to move on to something else. And it's just little things like that, I guess. Or they may come and say, well, this is what I want to learn. Okay, cool. Well, this is what you want to get to. This is how we got to get to it, you know? Um, and that has to do with, like I said, the thing we talked about a minute ago, the understanding of how do um, I need to be able to do it so I can articulate it. That kind of full circle on that one, that part at least.
Yeah. So when it comes down to like our listeners and viewers that have never shot a match or have never attended a class, if they're thinking about doing something like that, then like how do they prepare? And how did you prepare?
I would, uh, number one, open mind. You got to have an open mind, right? Because you got to be willing to receive information. That's the number one goal. It's not a gun. It's not a special holster. It's not magical ammo. Nothing like that. You got to have that open mind, right? It's the same idea. Like you got to want it. It's the bottom line. You just got to want it. So once you make your mind up that, yeah, I want to get training, we'll go into it with an open mind. You know, um, somebody I may think that I could do this or that. Be humble. I have to leave my ego at the door. Especially when I go, like say, when I get an opportunity and get to go and do classes of some sort. I just check my ego at the door. There's no reason to. I'll sit there and take every word that instructor's saying. I will try it their way, even if I've never done it. I don't agree with it. I will try it their way because you know what? It something else may click for me. I don't know. But have an open mind is number one goal before I go into anything like that, so that I'm willing to receive information. Um, the next step, like I said, is do the vetting process. To be real honest with you, because there's a lot of people out there that don the hat of instructor or don the tab of instructor, um, and I'm sure they have good intentions for the most part, but you're like I said once again, there's always somebody better, obviously, but I think that you can get your money's worth by vetting is what it really is. Time and money. You know, make make good choices by vetting out that instructor or instructors or school or whatever the case may be. Um, and don't just ask one or two people. Ask a lot of people. You know, go and ask all sorts of questions too. Like, hey, how'd they treat you? Did you feel like you learned anything? You know, and then once you kind of figure out, okay, well, I like to go to school A, right? Then I'd sit down and I'd want to sit down and set goals for myself. So everything's purpose driven. It needs to be purpose driven. So I'd sit down and say, well, I want to be able to do this eventually. Doesn't have to have that one lesson, that one class, but my goal is to get to this, right? So then I might say, okay, well, school A, B, and C can offer that to me. So then I'm gonna go to that. I'm gonna go to school B or whatever. Take class from said instructor, right? So I would have open mind, be willing to learn, vet that instructor or the school, and then set some goals for yourself. Because a lot of times we will stick with things when we see progress. When we see that we're doing good at something, we typically want to keep doing it. So set a goal in mind, be reasonable, and set one big goal you want, and then I would set some smaller goals along the way, like milestones, right? Like I talked about that to you, like when I first started competing and everything for a match, I'd be like, well, my goal for this match is to draw the gun and see the dot. That's all I cared about. I didn't care how I finished. We had these small micro goals, and then one of them was I just don't want any procedurals because I started getting a bunch of those. And then and then another match was like I don't want any no shoots or something, things like that. It was just like these micro goals that help me, put the puzzle together to make the big goal happen. So setting goals for yourself is good, and set them up there. It's okay. If they're out of reach, you can adjust them. They're not set in stone. I didn't walk up there and be like, if I don't reach this, then I quit. It's like, hey, I want to get to here, but if I only reach to here, okay, well, let's reevaluate. How do I now get to this little extra part of here to here, right? But at least be, happy and feel like you accomplished something when you reach these other stepping stones. So goals are important too. That's what I would do if I was starting all over, talking to brand new me and shooting. That's exactly what I would do.
Man, that's fantastic advice, Ty. Um, where can folks find you if we want to get in front of you
Oh,
for a private lesson or a class, or if we just want to shoot a match with you? Like,
sure.
where? How do we get a hold of you?
So there's a couple different ways. You can go on to TAE at TopGunMemphis.com. You can email me. They come straight to my phone. Um, you can email me, then we can try to set up something that way. I shoot out at MSSA, which is out here in Memphis. I shoot local matches here. Encourage y'all to come out. Even if you don't want to shoot, just come watch. It's just fun. You can learn a little bit by observing and see if you want to do it. And if you, like I said, if you have any questions or so, like I said, you can hit me up on my Instagram as well, which is TAEREED number 17. I will make you guys a promise too that I know I don't know everything about firearms. So if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer to it, I'm not going to lie to you. I'll go find the answer for us, because here's the cool thing is I'm a student too, and I want to continue learning. So if I don't know the answer, I won't just make something up to make you feel better, or make myself feel better, I should say. Um, I'll go find the answer for us so we can both learn. So hit me up on my email. You can hit me up in DMs on Instagram. I'd be more than happy to talk with any of you guys. Like I said, I enjoy doing this. This is what I love. I love sharing the information that I've gained over the years. And I like to keep learning too. You might be able to teach me something too, and I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
I'll tell you what, Ty, this was a whole lot of fun. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate you for coming on. I'm honored to have you.
Oh,
Man, thanks a bunch.
that same goes back to you, me, because like I said, I have a lot of respect for you, not just as a shooter or instructor, but as a friend and everything as well. And like I said at the very beginning, I mean, I'm actually really honored you even consider me with some of the level and caliber of people that have been coming on the show already, and you haven't in mind for and set up for already. I'm not gonna spoiler, no spoilers or anything, but like I'm really honored for that, because I sometimes don't see myself in that light, and I really appreciate you bringing me here today.
Man, thanks a bunch, Ty. Folks, thanks for listening. Um, if so we just made it to Spotify, we just made it to Apple Podcasts, and we just made it to Anchor FM. You can listen to this on there as well. And also we're on YouTube. So thanks a bunch, folks. Welcome to Memphis.
Thank you.